Hi guys, welcome back to Polaris Sector, and I suspect the theme of this video over the next half hour is going to be the same as the last one, which is let's build up and expand as best we can to close the gap between ourselves and the Logans. Hopefully, less pirate irritants this episode, but we will see. So I'm just waiting for this colonizer to be built, and I'm just going to allow New Light to continue to improve its production facility. So we've had a colonizer arrive at Lyra, and I really want the metals on that planet, on this frozen world. So obviously, with these new worlds, they've first got to build an atmospheric dome. They've got to get the infrastructure in place before they can start churning out any kind of resource extraction building. So there is a lag, and in the meantime, we're going to just continue to burn resources, and food in particular is something I've got my eye on. It's causing me some concern, but I'm hoping our prioritization of the kind of the aquatic farms will help with that at some point. Let's have a look. Epsilon Peacock, plenty of plutonium, organics, and metals. Right, so I definitely want that planet. Let us dispatch our colonizer, and we've already got another one building. Great. Let's bump up the speed a little bit just to keep things chugging along. So New Light's now building a factory. Population is going up very nicely. There's 105 now. Our original world terror is only sort of 95. So it's actually now a larger population than our original homeworld. And is still expanding this production for me, which is brilliant. I really do want it to be a production powerhouse. It may be our answer to the Logans, but we are going to need to start building some more military soon. Let's go straight for mineral extraction on that planet. So in many ways, this game is a grand strategy game. You can already see that we've got many colonies. The sort of criticism I would perhaps have is that those colonies aren't then too interesting in and of themselves. But there's got to be a trade-off. You either go for large number, or you go for smaller numbers with more detail, I suppose. And this game has chosen to go for a large number with low detail. I mean, obviously each of the planets is individual. They've got these various production and extraction bonuses. Another desert planet. So 11 metals, 6 organics, 4 plutonium, and some gravitonium as well, which isn't too relevant right now. Organics plus 32%. So I definitely want Zeta Peacock. Let's get out there and colonize that world. Still more colonizers to be built, though. More worlds to be claimed. Really, I don't want to grab as many of the useful worlds as we can before we start pushing outwards. And right now, I'm thinking that we're going to expand sort of. We'll go eastwards probably before going south, unless, of course, the Logans force our hand and bring us into a war more swiftly than I would otherwise like. I'm holding off designing defensive bases and new ships at the moment because we just haven't discovered really more technologies that will make a difference. So if I was to design and build ships now, I'd inevitably be redesigning them, upgrading them. So I'm just kind of holding off a bit at the moment in the hope that the Logans will likewise be involved in sort of expansion within their own area. So we're at a deficit of 91k at the moment, and only 10 million in reserves left. So I really do hope that we can get this these marine farms. 47 years. That's not a million miles away. And then we can get these. So yeah, at the moment, these ocean worlds, these agricultural ocean worlds, just aren't building anything. That's bored some colonists there. In fact, this agricultural world, whilst I think about it, could be building some floating platforms just in readiness. So let's build 4 and get them moving. So I've loaded the colonists. Let's have a look over here. What have we got? Exhausted dwarf. Nothing there. Another desert planet. So metals, organics, plutonium, a bonus to metals. Yeah, I want that, please. So let's head out in that direction. And I want more colonists. I really am placing a strain, obviously, on my sort of food requirements, but I just need to get out there and hope that research will save us. So we've got to Zeta Peacock, and let us colonize that world again. Mineral extraction. These worlds really aren't any good for the production of food. And we are reliant on our ocean worlds, and we've got several of them, because the Earth-likes we really do have to devote towards construction production. So this one now is maxed out with production. Doesn't leave any room for. See, we could have built 100 farms here, but no, this had to be our production area. And now that has been finished as a production area, I'm wondering whether what we should do now is think about those defensive bases I was talking about. So let's design a ship. Now the first thing we're going to design actually is a freighter, and we'll call it a transporter. And really what we want here is a ship that's going to be able to essentially have things loaded into it which can't on their own jump to light speed. So that's going to be fighters and space stations. And what we want this for is, I think it's called New Light, is our production planet, and that's great at churning out production, but is obviously behind the front line, whereas the worlds that we actually need to defend, some of them have very poor production. So the idea is to be able to take our combat resources, our defensive stations, etc., to the front line in this hauler. So we need fuel tanks. So we've got slightly better fuel tanks now. I think the biggest difference is actually the shape of these tanks. So these are kind of so tall and thin, whereas these are sort of square. They do require more power consumption, but not too much. So let's put in a few more fuel tanks just to give it a decent range, not too much. And we need some generators, these very sort of kind of inefficient nuclear reactors that take up loads and loads of room. There we go. So we've got a positive power balance now, so we can at least move around. So let's actually, I think let's fill this ship with as much cargo space as we can. So it's got a container space of 3,600. That's not too bad, actually. Let's try and go in for another line here and then see if we can we get a positive power balance? Maybe if I put this one in and then have the containers come down here. Yeah, great. Okay, so it can transport 4,200 odd of space. It can move because it's got its engines, it's got fuel, and it's not got a hell of a long range, but this is mostly going to be operating in our own territory anyway. So great. Let's finish that, and then New Light can build this transporter in 1 year. That's really great. And I was just thinking whilst we were talking about production that Deneb 2 have actually made an industrialization planet, and that's coming along. It's not as good as the Earth's because it's got to build the atmospheric domes before it can build the production facilities within those domes. But it's coming along. It's coming along. And okay, let's let time advance. I do quite like this sort of real-time system. It's not, I've got nothing against turn-based games. I really love turn-based games, but it does give it another dimension. It's just the only downside is when sometimes it doesn't alert you as you would expect to a particular event, and you kind of miss out. Whereas a turn-based game, you've got that greater level of sort of control sometimes. You perhaps miss less. Okay, so I've got my transporter built. Really, now let's design a defensive station. So we're going to delete this one. We'll start out with a new prototype, and we'll call it Sentinel. Use Sentinel stations to help guard the borders of our empire. So here we've got the sort of the top deck where we can put our turrets and load them with weapons. Then a second the inner first deck, which has got some space, and then less space on the second deck. So we haven't got loads to work with, but something is better than nothing at this stage. So these are going to range, in particular when it comes to these stations, I want to be looking at range because obviously the stations can't move. So if I go with a laser weapon, it's only got a range of 950. So an enemy ship armed with ion guns could just simply stand off and batter the station. We do have these plasma missiles, but they are in fact homing missiles used against small ships, sort of fighters. So I don't want too many of them. I will include a couple of turrets just to deal with enemy fighters and bombers, and likewise we'll put in a couple of laser batteries just once again really to deal with those fighters and the bombers. And here I'm flicking to the weapon ranges, which just I want to make sure that we are covered 360 degrees against those threats. And then our main defensive weapons are going to be the ion guns, and just want as many of those as I can. And now then, let's see if we can power all of this. We can upgrade our armor because we had we did research some armor. Obviously, no engines on a space station. So let's see how many nuclear reactors we can fit in, and see whether we can power this station. So we're already at a positive power balance, actually. So I'm quite happy with that. It's because the weapons that we've got on this top deck at the moment, they're just not, they're not great. So we can actually add in some more weapons. Why don't we turn these into sort of quadruple turrets, which should upgrade the firepower quite a lot. And then Let's see if we can... it makes the station more expensive, obviously, but I think we've certainly got the production capacity. It's whether we've got the material capacity, but I think we do need to be going for quality rather than quantity at this stage. I do want a scanner just to pick up the small ships. We could load fighters into a hangar, but actually I think the fighters can just basically stay fueled and stay supplied ready from the planet itself, so there's nothing to do there. So okay, we'll leave that design as it is, finalize it, and then at new light let's have a look. So we've got plutonium, not huge amounts of it, so we've probably got enough to build 2. Let's build 2 of them and start to fortify our own areas of space. Okay, so another planet to colonize, Epsilon Sagittar 1. And we're going for the metal, the organics, the plutonium, so mineral extraction here as well, please. Let's advance the clock. And yeah, this Sentinel station is going to be done pretty shortly. So what I want to do now, so satellite construction is complete, and it's telling me that production's been delayed because we've got a deficit in metals, which we do, so I really need more metals. These stations do cost resources to upkeep, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge this with the transport fleet. Then I'm going to disassemble it, load it into the transporter, and you can see it's taking up 1600 of the 4200, so we've got plenty of space. And then I'm going to move it out to one of these outer colonies, and we've had a new colonizer completed, loading it with the colonists, and yeah, still give me more colonies. I want them all. What's done here? Desert planet, organics, 19 metals. Yes, please. I want to get to the point where you know, I don't have to worry about these resources. We are just about to go into starvation, so that will stop us expanding. It's it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. How are we getting on with those farms? 26 years. Okay. Well, there's not much more I can do right now. So we've arrived at this beta Sagittar, so what we need to do is split that out into a new fleet, and then we can reassemble it as a defensive station, and we'll send this guy back to our production world. This station will now be reassembled. 10 out of 10 missiles. Maybe I've messed up there, actually. Perhaps we should have put more missile storage on board. So, right, our colonies are now facing unrest, and that means they'll stop producing, basically. I don't know if they can actually flip to an enemy civilization or form their own, but they certainly become uncooperative. And yeah, in particular, new light, there's going to be unrest, which is yeah, we've got some police forces which will help, but yeah, if the unrest gets to 100%, then they just stop. They stop building, and that could lock us into a problem where our ocean worlds, which we are going to need to provide us with agriculture, if they go on strike and stop producing, they may then not produce these marine farms I'm hoping to rely on. So we could kind of lock ourselves into a spiral of no production, and then we may not be able to get out of that. We sort of spiral downwards. But anyway, for now, let's remain optimistic. We will address this this food shortage at some point. Let's hope that our people can bear with us long enough. So the freighters come back now, and this Sentinel has not completed because it needs metal. And yeah, so we're getting unrest now across the board. Maybe I have expanded too quickly, but it's because I was desperately trying to catch up with the Logan. So I might, the other answer might have been to turn one of my Earth-likes into farming rather than research. But in 4X games, research is king, and I really didn't want to fall behind on that front. But so we've now got a positive food balance, and I don't know how that has happened. Probably because we've stopped producing anything. Stopped growing. So let's get more minerals, hopefully. Though they may, of course, just riot and refuse to cooperate because their bellies are empty. Though for some reason we must have reduced the planetary consumption by no longer. Or maybe people starved to death, and that kind of addressed the population issue. Let's have a look. Has my population gone down? No, it's just stagnated. So maybe that stagnation has helped somehow. I must say I'm at something of a loss as to how we've been able to turn that around. Well, not turn it around, but at least not suffer so much at this point. So this is building an organics plant, but organics are, they are not food. So, yeah, again, this is an agricultural world, but it's not doing anything right now because we don't have the marine farms. So let's let time advance. So I've still got a positive balance of 33k food. And yet people are still revolting because they don't have enough food. So and with our worlds, we've all got this sort of population control, which is pretty typical for the worlds with domes and those that rely on floating platforms. Yes, Plutonium has now become negative, but I think at least on that front, once we've sorted our population issues out, we have at least now got plenty of mineral mining worlds to take care of that. And not much happening on the screen right now, but in the background. Okay, so actually we do have colonies that have declared their independence, such as their irritation under my regime, subjecting them to starvation. So we're going to have to go and invade those worlds to get to bring our people back within the tender, loving care of our system. Oh, bugger! So New Light has now declared independence, and that obviously being our production world is a disaster for us. So they've got 5,000 police. We will cancel this colonizer because we've got much bigger problems now. Let us recruit. Let's recruit some Marines, and then we'll eventually have to build a transporter to take them firstly to New Light. To disband. So it turns out that I did not have everything under control on the minerals front because my mineral planets are now leaving me one after the other. 6 years to these these marine farms, but there may be nobody left to farm for us. So they are getting their own private little navies now, which will try to resist me. And when I say try to resist me, probably can resist me. So has this already built the ground forces? Yes, it has. Okay, so let's go and design a troop ship. So we've got that transporter one. We'll edit it, and instead of these cargo containers, we will add specialist landing modules. And so this can now, let's see, they take a load of power, these landing modules. I'm not sure why. It's probably a balancing issue, so that you can't use one ship and fill it with too many troops. You do get better modules and better reactors as you get into the game. We haven't really got far into the game. Let's see if we can just bump up the ground forces to 4,000. More generators. No, I don't think we're going to have enough. Okay, so we'll reduce the landing modules down. That will let us get rid of some of these generators, which will reduce the cost of the ship, so that's good. Let's put in some more fuel just because it will be going into hostile territory, and we still need a bit more power. That will do. Okay, Terra, you need to build us that transport ship. Have I made a mistake here? There already was a troops carrier, but I didn't want to use that. Oh, have I just... so I've altered the design of the transporter to be... because I didn't have... Okay, fine. That'll do. It'll do. It will do. Let's build that. And... yes. Yes. So it's telling me I've got low reserves of materials, which I am aware of. I really need to try and get my independent world back under my banner before my neighbours snap them up, and before they become too entrenched. So really, what I want to be doing is moving my fleet now to Terra, so that I can escort my transport ship when it's built and we can start taking back these worlds. Feeling something like a tyrant now, in that these worlds have left because their people are starving, and I'm now going to use my military to get them back. Yeah, let them eat cake, he says in a callous and uncaring way. If they could have just starved a little bit longer for me to get my minerals, selfish buggers. There's going to be a mass of enemy fighters coming from somewhere, so I'm just going to try and protect this most exposed carrier whilst it groups up with the rest of the capital ships. This video is going on a little bit long now, so what I'll do is I will pause the battle here, and I'll end this video and we'll carry it on in the next one. See you next time. Thanks.